Guys, I am here to get into The Master, which is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, released in the year 2012, and this is just perhaps one of the most influential projects of all the 21st century to be released, as it just is really a groundbreaking project for me on many levels. Just its rich layers of character study, just the way that it just kind of has this sort of rosy depiction on characters as they explore their sense of power dynamic, in a sense, in a very original sense, around 1950s atmosphere, which generally does hold up as perhaps the most just rosy perspective in Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography, along with Phantom Thread. He's still like the most non-anxiety inducing atmospheres of his filmography. And this is just an ultimate case where I find, a lot of like earlier P.T. Anderson filmography, like films like Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, Early Blood, function on having an insanely like screenplay oriented kind of depiction around its wild directing. In this case, it's more of a I feel like it's the ultimate case of a film that really feels like the directing is the talking at so many levels, because it's just like I usually watch this with like no subtitles. I don't even enjoy reading the screenplay that much in contrast to how good it is just to watch this film unravel. Because watching this is just a very original case of just looking at again themes that P.T. Anderson would kind of evolve. He would kind of flesh this out with every film he would make moving forward from different angles. Between Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread, and Licorice Pizza, these are kind of just like just extremely directorial. That's kind of how P.T. Anderson evolved as a 21st century artist. And like they all are equally mesmerizing to me on so many levels, but this one just has an originality of warmth to it. I feel like ultimately, and a lot of its amount of resonance and influence in many levels. Extremely rewatchable scenes that are just very wonderful, powerful, and kind of just like it's like kind of on this alternative rock balance of like intense and relaxing at all the same. Because it's like usually like a bunch of intense nothing, which just feels very wonderfully resonant. And just generally how like what we're getting here literally resonates with like nostalgia on many levels. This is a wonderfully transcendental project, which does kind of feel like it's like a moment that's like discovering like something like of course like similar to something of a Stanley Kubrick masterpiece like happening here, because I just have so many like just fun moments of this. I saw this first and upon theatrical. I remember waiting this like daily for 6 months because I was such a fan of P.T. Anderson's stuff in Boogie Nights, so the Early Blood. In this case, it's just a completely different moment altogether, which I had to see a few times. It's just such a freaking original thing. It's actually just a mind-bending moment. This and Your Advice particularly are mind-bending, I feel like. I mean, and it's like they've only just, the impact is only just increasingly resonates in time. It's just easily one of my all-time favorite projects and depictions. It's just a downright kind of just what it is to have just characters who are spiritually connected. I think P.T. Anderson's generally interested in spiritually connected characters and what they find in understanding throughout moments that are displayed here, which often feel aimless and frustrating. But then at the end, it kind of reveals a very like ultimate sense of innocence about itself. You really see it, particularly the main force between all this is Lockie Phoenix. Philip Seymour Hoffman has main characters, and then Amy Adams is just like a silent force. You don't see her all the time, much like Nicole Kidman and Eyes Wide Shut, but she's a very powerful force in the story. And it's just a very in the moment kind of screenplay, which is just like an epic at displaying the simplicity, which reminds me a lot of. Seems like he was going for P.T. Anderson displays the original amount of Michelangelo Antonioni influence throughout this era. And it's really Johnny Greenwood's collaboration with P.T. Anderson is just fantastic, from Early Blood all the way up to Licorice Pizza. I think they're all just incredible and original, and just creating perfect world building. So that's what P.T. Anderson has. He has kind of he goes for the three-way, which I would like literally just take notes on this daily as a student to this philosophy of just trying to set up perfect world building, perfect characterization, and then just perfect soundtrack, perfect soundscape all around. And it just when we put those three elements together, it's like you really kind of do have a functioning film on it around you. It's quite fantastic. This film is just really world bending. It's really an original kind of personal language it communicates on. Speaks directly to emotions in a very comforting kind of way. This film it feels very comfortable. Characters are just very drawn out. Has just a very mind-bending kind of depiction all around. The influence just feels incredibly fascinating. Some of my all-time favorite shots of cinematography I've ever seen. Some of the best color schemes, which really does feel original. It's like a completely original foundation of just modern kind of filmmaking, which always has a level of mystique value about it, which every time I rewatch any P.T. Anderson film, like they kind of feel like a fresh experience every single time. It's character development is so pure and three-dimensional. Some of the fleshed out characters I've ever seen. in its own kind of way. It's just like characters in the moment. It's like it's not you don't like you get like some flashbacks in there, but overall like it's just the characters are just in the moment entirely, and you gotta have that perfect balance between just all around. Just characters who are just it's like they're looking for an ultimate sense of simplicity. It turns out, but they're kind of like shifting through a bunch of intense power dynamics, and that's almost why. Like you can't say that because power dynamics are just overbearing. In a lot of ways, this is just a very original kind of masterwork. Again, this is like Phoenix just finds like this sense of acceptance after they haven't been in war for so long, and then Hoffman is just this cult leader who just kind of needed, I think, someone just to get on his level of understanding, and I think Phoenix just turns out to be that for him. And it's just a wonderful kind of film. This entire thing is just perfect from start to finish. I've just never seen anything quite like it at depicting just some of the most insane raw moments. It's like raw moments that remind me a lot of the best, my favorite like pieces of like Milos Forman perspective. It even seems very influential on how Milos Forman perceives a lot of this. Just strongly recommend it as it displays just originality all around it. This is just a perfect project from start to finish, which every time you rewatch it, it kind of feels like a fresh, original kind of viewing experience, which just has been consistent every single time. And that's like it used to seem challenging. What used to seem challenging now seems overwhelmingly soothing. Like it's almost like it's just that ahead of its time. And again, he like kind of just rises on this formula. He's been riding on this formula ever since, really. It's just so wonderful. How all this boils together, and just it's a timeless kind of project. It's really one of just Pete Anderson's absolute greatest moments, and it just goes strongly recommended from start to finish.